Yo, what up? Motherfucking soul chilling in my forest garden. And right now I'm in my favorite part of the forest garden. It's called Protein Row. Um, this is where I have hazelnuts, Siberian pea shrubs, ground nuts, perennial protein sources over here. And right here is just a patch of perennial kale. So I mix it up between Western Front perennial kale and perennial Grex kale. And so hoping I can breed the two together. So this right here is a good example of, companion planting. I got some chives right here. Got a hazelnut bush which will grow, get big, and then around it I have vegetables. Kale, sorrel, mustard greens, and because we have chickens free range in comfrey, nasturtium, yarrow, just typical pollinator plants to keep the whole thing going. Now, the biggest challenge I had is that this all was shrub and bush and forest a year ago. We cleared it all and sheet mulched it. And as you can see, we have chickens who free range in our farm and they rip up the sheet mulch, and so it's really been a challenge getting vegetables and the herbaceous layer in the ground. My main goal was to plant the berries, the fruits, and the nuts, which I did, and then after all that was done, I just kept putting stuff in to see what the chickens would or wouldn't destroy. This is some kind of squash, I forget what kind. It's a winter squash. That's doing great. And then next to it we have mint, like a mint plant right here, and then it just keeps going in. Then right here, a baby peach tree, rhubarb, mustard greens. Right here is goumi, Goumi. It's a nitrogen fixing shrub that's kind of like a cherry, tastes really good. The rest of this stuff here is raspberries that were pushing up through the sheet mulch that I decided to not do anything about just because I'd rather have plants there than not. But I'm probably gonna tear all those out and put some better raspberries in. Over here we got borage, which is another awesome edible pollinator plant, and comfrey underneath a pear tree. And when you're planting fruit trees in a forest garden setting, these are the standard pollinators people call for: borage, yarrow, comfrey. They're all medicinal, great plants. This is horseradish. I've never grown horseradish before. This is fucking cool. These giant greens are actually turnip greens, but they're a mutated form of turnip that, I shouldn't say mutated, evolved from, I got them from the Experimental Farming Network. And basically these are turnip that went wild 150 years ago on a homestead in New York, and they grew to develop, or they evolved over time to develop basically a broccoli rabe. So it's another form of perennial broccoli that comes from turnip greens. So I'm really excited to try this. I don't think I'm gonna have the broccolis this year, but next year. And turnip greens are great too. It's always good to switch it up. But what's really exciting about that plant is that it's just some shit that somebody it just went wild, and someone just found it on their yard. They was like, whoa, this turnip is doing weird shit. So that's really cool. Here I've just got tomatoes, because again, it's like I just didn't want a lot of blank space in here, because it's gonna take 3 to 5 years for these trees to really come in. In the meantime, people do alley cropping where they plant stuff like squash or something down the middle. I just wanted to put in the things that I would eat the most: squash, tomatoes, herbs, and greens. Over here is more comfrey. Again, more greens. I need to do a better job washing over here. Here is the turnip greens again. These are it's called Wild Dietrich's perennial broccoli. More of it here. I don't know how it got over here. Either I planted some over here or chickens or birds self-seeded. Again, there's like so many other factors going on, it's hard to tell. Over here is a huge patch of Turkish rocket. I've talked about Turkish rocket before, but again, this is another plant that has awesome greens that have like a mustard greeny kind of flavor. It's perennial, beautiful flowers, and it's another plant that makes like a perennial broccoli. So that's this row. Back there, that's a Liberty apple tree. And again, same thing, you know, yarrow planted down here. I need to plant more pollinator plants around here, but for now, it's okay. So that's the top row. This side on the thing on the side of the barn would likely be a greenhouse a year from now, but didn't get to build it this year. Over here is a cool little microclimate. Again, I have more of the perennial Grex kale. Down here, it's kind of getting torn up a little bit by, I think, snails, but it's all good. Right here, we have some groundnut growing up this apple tree. This is either Braeburn or Cortland. Here we have some leeks. I grew leeks, not leeks, ramps. Ramps are a wild form of somewhere between a spring onion and garlic. It's a delicacy, and I grew them all from seed. So I got a little patch of wild ramps over here, and then right next to it is some more perennial vegetables. This is Caucasian mountain spinach. It is awesome. It is fucking awesome. This is another one of these plants that I've been reading about for years. Never got to taste. And it just tastes like lettuce. It's amazing, but it's a perennial spinach that grows 6 feet every year, keeps coming back stronger and stronger. Another one of these perennial vegetables over here is Good King Henry. Good King Henry is something people substitute for spinach, but when it goes to seed, it looks like asparagus. So again, there's just tons of shit here. And the cool thing is these are all perennials, except for the tomatoes and the squash. And so this year they'll do okay, but then they'll keep coming in bigger and bigger and bigger. This whole patch behind me is where I've put my pawpaw trees. Here's one pawpaw. This is a Shenandoah. This is one I brought with me. And in here, there's just there's like 4 other baby pawpaw seedlings in there. I'm not gonna bother going in there because I don't want ticks on me. Yeah, so it's the Caucasian mountain. There's more raspberry right here. I kind of like the way it looks, but you know, again, pick your battles in a wild ass place like this. Here is more hazelnut. There's 4 hazelnut shrubs on this row. Each of these little shrubs right here will grow to be about, I think, about 10 feet wide or 7 feet wide. So they're gonna be really big, but it's good because I'll have fucking nuts. Oh, another thing I've done, as you can see, because we're at a tilt here, or because there's a slant, you know, we created steps using logs that we had cut down. And one of the things I'm experimenting with is, because the Caucasian mountain spinach likes shade, I'm growing them down here along the edge of these logs. So this will now be, these logs will add an extra you know, terrain to pick vegetables from. Over here, this is a Siberian pea shrub. It's a perennial pea from the steppes of Asia, and yeah, it's a regular pea, but people don't really eat it that much, and so I'm hoping that if I'm able to produce a ton of it, that I'll be able to at least get like a soy protein or soy flour from the peas to make, you know, just whatever, local vegan produce. Again, in here, same thing. A lot of the vegetables out here, like this mustard greens and arugula, were stuff that I had in my cold frames that once they were about to go to seed, I just was like, fuck it, threw them in the forest garden, see if they'd survive, and they did great. Actually, everything that's been planted here is doing much better than in the raised beds. And again, like I probably grew like 50 different pumpkins and squash from seed because those plants store for so long. And so I've got like different pumpkins, red pumpkins, white pumpkins, purple pumpkins, and winter squash kind of mixed all through here, probably like 50 different plants, just because those plants store for so long. And again, like mustard greens, always let them go to seed. They're fucking awesome. This is and then down here, I just put all these seedlings of Caucasian mountain spinach, good King Henry. This is Distania, which is AKA pig celery, which is like a celery alternative. Yeah, back there, the flowers are nasturtium, another edible flower. Great things to grow, more tomatoes. And then I also realized that I want, you know, scent is important. So I want to plant lots of herbs and shit in here. So I've got more oregano, thyme, oregano. There's more oregano and thyme on the other side. I find that, like, yeah, we have oregano and thyme growing in our little kitchen herb garden, but I feel like I never can get enough oregano. Yeah, it's like one of the most generic herbs, but I can kind of never get enough of it. So another thing I'm taking into consideration as I'm filling all of this in and trying to plant as much perennial stuff as possible, I am also considering the way my son and coming kids engage with the garden. And what I've done is put things that they will enjoy playing with the most on the outside. So for instance, mint is right here. Not playing with the most, but things that like they'll want to get at, you know. Raspberries. These are all potatoes here. I just kind of threw them here to see what would happen. This is another cool plant. It's called Sweet Sicily. It's a plant, another one of these perennial permaculture plants that I tried to grow for years and I never could. And I got some from Aaron Parker at Edgewood Nursery, and you know, they're kind of like candy-ish. They produce these little pea pods that taste like licorice, and so it's just a real cool ingredient to have. I'm excited to fuck with it. Even the leaves have like a nice flavor. Okay, so this is there anything I missed in that garden over there? Wait, I thought I just planted a peach tree in here. Yeah, this is a peach tree. I also just planted another peach tree here. And then down here is a thing called a cornelian cherry. It's in the dogwood family, but it produces like a cherry, a weird shaped cherry. Just a cornelian cherry, got that right here. Down there is cranberries. I had lingonbush, but I don't know where the fuck. I mean, the thing is, like, it's easy to lose shit. This is yarrow, more squash, some sorrel. These are Jerusalem artichokes. Jerusalem artichokes look like sunflowers when they grow, and at their root have the Jerusalem artichoke tubers, which are awesome, and the flowers are great. Here, originally, I planted buffalo berry, but none of them survived. This is a Brayburn apple tree. Next to it, these little plants over here, these are honeyberries. As you can see, this is all overgrown now with ferns. I need to re-sheet mulch all this stuff. Down here, this is a yellowhorn nut. Yellowhorn nut is kind of like a macadamia. It's from China. And as you can see, all back there is all raspberries. It's fun fucking with raspberries when you got a kid. And as you can see, we just keep sheet mulching. You know, there's like, it's kind of like never ending. Like, as much work as we want to put into this, we can. And so things are at a good stage right now. I guess the last thing I would show people is over here. I mean, I'm missing so much stuff. You know, there's like little things of savory and tarragon. But then over here I planted a bunch of stinging nettle. I'm not gonna touch it because I don't want to get fucked up. But yeah, so stinging nettle is like a medicinal plant, and people think of it as just like this annoying plant that fucks you up, but it's actually an incredible tasting green. So just as like a recap, it's like I'm planting for the long game. I'm planting for, you know, 5 years from now. But in the interim, also trying to maximize as much as I can get from the things that I eat the most, which is potatoes, things like squash, greens, salad greens. And there's also asparagus in there, but I think it's dead. And yeah, for some reason I've had a hard time getting onions to grow. Normally, I would love to have spring onions everywhere, but for some reason I just can't. I haven't been able to get them to grow. I think it's because I have poor irrigation, but I don't know. So that's where things are at. And one other thing I'll just put out there is like, that's cool, is I've been in the process of helping Edgewood Nursery produce videos for their for the plants. And so we've been doing like barter, where I'm helping them make videos and getting all these free trees and plants. Of course, it's not free, it's just a barter, but it's a way that I'm able now to pretty much get my wish list of all the plants, trees, all these things that I need. And so it's coming together. Back there's aronia. Behind me is like sea berries and a medlar. A medlar is a fucking weird plant. It's a fruit, and basically what happens is you let the fruit rot on the tree, and it produces a weird, like fig-like kind of plant that kind of people say it tastes like apple cinnamon sauce. I'm not gonna do the full tour. I just kind of wanted to do an in-depth tour on the forest garden, because it was something that in many ways I'd sort of given up on. I'd sort of given up on it and just was looking at it as a long-term thing with the trees because of the chickens. But once I started getting plants established in there, having free-range chickens has not been a problem. Yeah, this is cool. This is like our potato and Three Sisters patch. So we got corn, sorghum, soybeans, bush beans, a little hemp back there, and lots of potatoes. It's supposed to be about 250 pounds worth of potatoes, different heirloom Maine potatoes. Yeah, look at the other stuff later. I mean, but it's crazy. You know, we have maybe planted on 1/10 of the available property and getting tons of food. And so it's really, you know, again, the hardest thing is just like keeping it all together in my head, like not getting overwhelmed, not getting stressed out, just like enjoying my time out here, getting to know this new space. And it's really it's fucking beautiful. Summer here is fucking beautiful. Yeah, we got guinea hens and they escaped, so maybe I'll go get some more tonight. But yeah, so I don't know, that's where things are at. If you have questions, concerns, let me know.